Hello guys and welcome to this video. This is video number 3 in this series. In this video I'm going to talk about class access modifiers. What are they? When do we use them? How do we use them? And why do we use them? Also we are going to look at examples in code to clarify these access modifiers because some of them they need some attention. They can get a little bit confusing. So let's start. As class access modifiers, we have the private, we have the public, we have protected internal, private protected, and file. What does each of these mean? The private access modifier means that if you declare your class as private, it means it cannot be accessed outside this class, outside this file, outside this class. It's not going to be accessible. You won't be able to create project out of it. But the question here is, why should I create a class private if I can't make objects out of it? Because when you create a class, you create it for a reason because you need to use it. Then why should I create a class as a private if I can't use it? This is a good question. I'm going to answer this question when we start seeing this in code. So bear with me. The other class modifier is the public keyword. When you say public class something, it means this class is accessible anywhere in your project and even outside your project. When I say outside your project, it's of course it's not outside this outside your computer. No, it means it's in another project because as you guys remember, I told you we have a solution. The solution is a grouping of multiple projects. Sometimes you might have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 projects. I don't know how many, and you might want to use a class from another project in a certain project. So if you want to do this, you will have to declare this class as public. That's all. The third access modifier is the protected. I'm not going to talk about this protected for now because it has to do with inheritance and we haven't touched inheritance yet. When we reach inheritance, I will be talking about protected. I will be explaining everything about it, so don't worry. Next, we have the internal. Internal keyword means as if you can remember now, I just talked about public and I said you can access this class, you can create objects out of it in your project and in another project. Internal is like public in the same project, but you cannot access this class outside the current project, or let's say the project where the class has been declared in. This is the internal keyword, nothing more. Protected internal, private protected. Also, I'm not going to talk about these because they both belong to the protected keyword. Let's wait until we get into inheritance. The file keyword, the file keyword means when you declare your class as a file, it means it's only accessible in this file. Okay, what does the word file mean? When I create a class, the Visual Studio creates a file with a name the same as the class. So what's the big deal here? The deal here is the file is different than a class. Even though Visual Studio creates a file with the same name as your class, but you can still add classes to this file. So in a file, for example, if you have a person class, you will have also a person file, but I can come to this person file and add 2 more classes. So in this way, I have one file that is called person file and it contains 3 classes. That's why there is this keyword file. And this keyword file means if I declare my class as file, it's only accessible within these 2 or 3 more classes that exist in the same file. This is the purpose of the file keyword. So with these out of the way, let's get into code and see each one in details and in code. In the previous video, we declared a class called called person, and we marked it as public, which means I can access it anywhere. And as you can see, We have created object out of this person. We give it an ID, we give it a name, everything works fine, and life is good. Why? Because this is public. This is the public keyword. Now, if I change this public keyword into internal, everything stays the same. Nothing changes. Even if I click on save, everything stays the same. But if I go now and add a new project in the solution, and I add a new project, and I choose console app, if you don't find your console app here, again, all you have to do is search for console and you'll get console. Choose .NET, please, not .NET Framework, because .NET is the cross-platform, is the new platform from Microsoft. .NET Framework is only here for backward compatibility, because some companies still have programs that are written in .NET Framework, so they might need some tools, some stuff that only work with .NET Framework. We don't. We work on .NET. We hit next, we give it a name, let's call it second project. Second project, let's give it an underscore, and now we can hit next, and we can click on create. Now, if you look here, we have first project and we have second project. One thing I would like to mention, this word project also means assembly. Okay, so if you guys see the word assembly, don't get confused. It means your project. So we have here now two projects, or we have two assemblies. First assembly called first project, the second is second underscore project. Okay, so now this program CS, if you look at the coloring, you can see that this belongs to a project, to the first project, and now this belongs to the second project. Okay, this is the entry point of the second project. Now, if I try to access the person, create an object out of this, if I say new person, I won't be able to do it. Even if I come here and click Control dot, I will get the option to create or generate a class. I don't have the option to reference this person. Why? Because it's marked internal. All I have to do is go into public, and now if I click here, I might get add reference first. Add reference to first project. You can do it automatically like here, or you can go to dependencies in the second project and add reference to the project. Check this, click OK. And now if you come here, he will ask you to do this using first project. When I do using first project, now it's working fine. Now I can create a person object. But if I come back here and change this into internal, not interface, but internal, and save, I will start getting errors here. As you can see, now we are getting this error. It's saying person is inaccessible due to its protection level, or its accessibility, which is the internal keyword. This is what the internal word does. If you want to protect your class only in your project, confine it in your project, you mark it as internal. If you want to use it as in the multiple projects, you have to make it public. Otherwise, it won't be accessible. Okay, now let's go and get something a little bit more challenging, which is the private keyword. If I change this to private now, I will get all the errors in the world. Look, now here I have errors. Here I will have errors. If I hover over one of these errors, I will get is inaccessible due to its protection level. Also here, I will get the same message, inaccessible due to its protection level. Why? Because now it is marked private. Private means it's not accessible outside this class. I can't access it. So, but why do we have an error here? Because you can't declare a class as private directly in a namespace. This is not allowed. Why? Because it doesn't make sense. Why would you declare a class private directly in a namespace? If you want to make it private, then why would you do it? Then you won't be able to use it. So why should I create a class if I can't use it? That's why the private keyword here doesn't fit. All we have to do is make it public. But how do we create a private class? We want to create a private class. We will do something called nesting. Nested class. A nested class is a class within a class. So let's see what is a class within a class. We do private class. Let's call this manager. As you can see, no problems because this class is private only for this class. I can use it here in this class, but not outside of this person class. No one can use it outside this person class because it's marked private. But again, if you mark this private, then how are you going to use it? No way to use it because it's private. But this one can be used here because it's private for this class. Okay, let's give this. Let's give this class a name. Not a name, a property. Let's also make it. Let's also make it private. ID. Oh man, what the hell? Integer ID equals or gets it. Okay, and also let's do a private string name get set equals string empty. Okay, now we might get an error. You will see why. You will see now. And let's do a private manager column manager. Okay, now the question is, we have declared a class private. We have created a field of type manager because we need to give this person a manager. Then, but how do we use this manager? I mean, if we come here now and say, try to create a manager, there is no way we can create a manager because it's private. And also, if we come to person and try to access the manager field, we we won't be able to access it. Why? Because it's private. Then how do we create a manager for this person? What I'm going to do now, we haven't we haven't seen it yet. I'm going to create a function. Actually, a function within a class is not called a function, it's called a method. I will make a video only for functions and for methods so you guys can understand when to use a function and how to use it and why do we use it. But for now, bear with me. I'm only going to make only two simple functions, methods, because they are inside a class. I'm going to make a public void set manager. And what does this manager need? Needs an integer ID and a string name. And now what I can do is I can say manager equals new manager and say ID equals ID name equals name. Still, we have errors. Why do you think we have these two errors? Because these two fields are marked private. So this doesn't work. We have to make this public and we have to make this also public. Now everything works fine. Even if you mark a property as a private, it won't be accessible. Okay, this is the lesson to be learned here. Now we have a set manager. We need a way to retrieve this manager or at least print the manager information. So we can make public void print manager. All we can do is we need a console dot write line the channel. We will do what is called string interpolation, which is we can say manager ID is manager.id, and we can also make a new line. We can say manager's name is manager.name. Now, if we come here to our program and we say we already have a person object, all we need now is to set a manager for this person. Let's give this manager an ID of 1 and the name of Sam's manager. Now let's get this person, let's print it, print manager. Now if we run our program, we see we have the ID of the person, which is 1, and his name, and we also have the ID of the manager, and we also have the name of the manager. This is how this private word complicates the our work. But when it's useful, when it's important, you have to take this risk and do it, because sometimes you really need to, let's say, restrict some class to a certain class. Like here, we restricted this class manager into this class person. So you might need to do it. Now you know how to do it. We still have the keyword file. Now, if we mark this class as file, what do you think is going to happen? We will start getting errors here. Why? Because this person cannot be used outside this file. Now we are talking in the class level, in the file level, not the class level. What I mean is you can come here and you can also add a class. I will make it intentionally public so I can get an error. So you can guys see what is the cause of this error. Okay, if I say if this guy has a private person, let's call them person and get set. This is the error I'm talking about. Why do you think we get this error? Because we are referencing a class that is marked file in a class that is public, which means it looks like we are trying here to fool the compiler, but the compiler is a little bit smart and he doesn't allow us to do so. So the problem here is this public class, you can use it outside this file, outside this class, but it has a field or a property that is not accessible outside this file. That's why it's complaining. So the solution for this problem is to mark this also as file and everything now works well. But what does this do to our class? This means that also this class person2 is not accessible outside this file. So the compiler wants to make sure that this person cannot be accessed outside this file. And if you reference it inside here, also it cannot be accessed. It still cannot be accessed. This is why it was complaining. So now file, and also if we come here, we have errors because we cannot make a person, and also we cannot create person2. This is not allowed because person2 is also a file. Now we have reached the end of this video. I hope it was clear. I hope you guys understand it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment. I will try to answer them. They will give me some directions to if I'm doing this right, if I'm doing this wrong. In the next video, I'm going to talk about functions, and maybe I'm going to talk about constructors. What is a constructor in a class, and what is a function? What is a method in a class? Why do we need the three of them? This is the topic of the new video. I hope you guys to see you in the new video. and have a nice weekend.